You like baseball?
Yes.
Ty Cobb signed this. Now it's yours.
Episode 10 is entitled Georgia Peaches. The title refers to the nickname given to Ty Cobb, who's the Georgia Peach, and the plural of that is referring to other guys who might be kind of tough at their business, namely Nucky and the other people who are in his world.
Ty Cobb is a bad man.
He doesn't like to be crossed, that's for sure.
This scene in Fallon's office is where we introduce the idea of Ty Cobb and the Georgia Peaches of the title. Cobb was also notoriously racist and angry and bitter, and not many people liked him, and he had a horrible reputation, although you couldn't deny the idea that he was one of the great players in history. So it's an interesting idea that you'll put up with a lot of behavior as long as it serves your purposes, that you don't really have to be the nicest guy in the world, as long as you're helping me out.
This is about moral complexity, and this is a show about not being sure how you're supposed to feel about everybody. And to me, that's kind of what that title suggests, is that you can't make simple assessments of people. Everything has a kind of gray complexity to it, which is a generally great thing about characters on Boardwalk Empire, but very specific to this episode, where everybody has to be looked through a very particular lens of complexity.
A promise to those who serve faithfully, that they too will be served in turn. Amen.
Though there were periodic workers' strikes in Atlantic City, most notably at the time there was a strike of the rolling chair pushers on the boardwalk. The strike depicted in the show is something we came up with ourselves, but strikes like that did happen throughout the course of Atlantic City's history.
Hold the line!
Shooting the strike-breaking scene on the boardwalk was an interesting challenge. With a scene like that, you really have to kind of break it down into a lot of mini scenes. I think, crazily, the entire scene is maybe like half a page in the script, but there's so much going on in it because there's not really much dialogue. It's just really these guys come in, break it all up, and hell breaks loose. I looked at a lot of things for reference in terms of strike-breaking, from Hoffa to Fist, that were actually kind of helpful. There is this kind of iconography of like Teamsters and strike-breaking and all that kind of stuff, which we were kind of playing with. For me, the thing was to make it like big and dangerous and epic kind of feeling, but also not lose sight of who our main characters were and what they were going through in the middle of all this melee.
It's always difficult when you do a show involving gangsters. People do tend to die. Sadly, some of the people who do die are actors who you're very fond of, and Alexa is certainly one of those people. The script was about to come out, and I realized I hadn't spoken to Alexa about this plot development. So I got her on the phone, and I said, listen, I'm really sorry to tell you, and told her what was going to happen. And of course, she was disappointed, but understood. I mean, she's a total professional. And then when I hung up, I realized that she was actually on the set about to shoot the party scene in episode 8. And I couldn't believe it. I just told an actor who's about to go shoot this really happy, fun scene that your character's about to die. Totally my mistake. I felt like an idiot, and my apologies forever to Alexa Palladino. But I really just didn't want her to find out from somebody else.
Please. I'm a child.
It's very interesting what happens to Angela in this episode, because I really didn't know what was coming until I read the script. I knew a scene like that could have great dramatic impact, and with that comes the obligation to make it as dramatic and as sad and horrible as it should really be. Practically speaking, this was a difficult scene to shoot because we were shooting in a very small room. It wasn't a set, it's a location. It was a real trick in such a small space to keep light off the walls and to keep it kind of moody and concentrated and scary, which is what it should be. In the script, there was a thing about how when Manny's in the window outside, that we see a shadow go across Angela's face. As a lighting effect, it didn't really work that well, and it seemed more interesting to kind of have the shadow effect of Manny across the drapes to create that kind of tension. That's something that I cleared with Terry, and he was okay with that. There was actually a lot of discussion with William about shooting Angela because he was very conflicted about it. It was interesting, he was conflicted as a person and as an actor, not so much as a character. I think in his mind, there was this thing like, my children are gonna watch me shoot a woman in cold blood. And he had a little bit of a thing with that. But it's absolutely true to the character of Manny. He didn't come there to kill Angela, but he's sending a message to Jimmy. It's just one of those kind of mob things, right?
Your husband did this to you.
We did at least play the scene where you feel a kind of reluctance in Manny that he didn't really relish doing this. And actually we did a take also where Manny says like a little prayer over her after he shoots her, a Jewish prayer. But in the end, it wasn't necessary, I think, for us to feel that he had some regret about killing her. The scene, I think, is very strong because it is so unexpected and shocking. And also, I think even for Manny, it's a difficult thing to do.